Hi guys, I'm Tyson and welcome to Aviation Adventures. Today we are doing a walk around video of this thrush behind me. 4 years ago I did a video similar to this, but it was with an air tractor, and this year we purchased an operation. It came with 2 of these airplanes, so we thought why not update it and get a new walk around video. Now this particular airplane is a 1981 model. They still make them. Thrush is still in business. They are made out in Georgia. Since this is a 1981 model, it has had some modifications done to it over the years. It didn't originally come with a turbine engine on it. It originally came with a radial. Also, the hopper on this one is now a 500-gallon hopper, and it originally came with a 400-gallon hopper. The motor on this airplane is a Garrett TPE 331-6. It comes in at 715 horsepower. Now, this is considered a turboprop, so it's a turbine engine running on jet fuel, but it drives the propeller here, which then creates the thrust. So unlike maybe your airliner like a 747 or a Citation, the thrust comes right out the back of the engine and that's propelling the aircraft forward. This turbine is directly connected through a drive shaft to the propeller. You have this giant exhaust right here. It just comes out on one side, and this is the air intake on the very front. Underneath the airplane, you can see this tiny propeller right here. This is the pump. This is how the chemical gets out of the hopper, which is located right here, and into the boom, as well as what's pressurizing the whole system. So the booms are pressurized so that the spray actually comes out. This is just wind driven. So the air moving across this pump is what's spinning it and creating all of the pressure inside of the booms and actually pressurizing the system. As we walk around the front of the airplane, the wingspan on this is 47.5 feet. These particular booms are about 66% of the wingspan. With that, the swath that I can take is approximately 60 feet at 2 gallons. That seems to be the sweet spot for it. I was just talking about the pump up front that pressurizes the spray booms. So these are the booms right here, and you can see all of these nozzles that go along the boom. That is what the spray is coming out of. These particular nozzles have 3 different settings on them. So if I was doing 2 gallon, 3 gallon, or 5 gallons per acre, I can spin these nozzles so that I can get the correct amount of liquid to come out, and I maintain the correct pressure so that I also have the correct droplet spectrum coming out of the booms and out of the nozzles. Right behind me, you can see this brownish material. This is actually the hopper on the airplane. So I mentioned that it was 500 gallons. So you can see going all the way to the light bar up there on top of the hopper and back to the windshield here. That comprises the hopper, and it goes all the way down to the bottom of the airplane. That's where all of the liquid is held. And again, that's 500 gallons. Something that I think is a little bit interesting about these older airplanes is that the tail is still fabric. So the body here, this is metal, the wings are metal, but the horizontal as well as the vertical, this is all still fabric covered. On the side of the airplane, I have the fill for the hopper right here. This is a dry brake. So on the end of the hose, I have a dry lock that goes and connects to the brake right here. And what that prevents is any type of drip coming from the hose when you disconnect it and when you connect it. Behind the fill for the hopper, I also have the fuel fill. This again has a dry brake on it, and this is a Hatfield system. I've not had this on other airplanes. It has been amazing. How it works is you just hook the fuel hose to it and you start pumping in fuel after you flip this red switch up, and it automatically shuts the fuel off when it gets to a predetermined point that I can set in the cockpit with other switches up there. So now the loader doesn't have to think about overfilling the airplane with fuel or shutting it off at a predetermined point because it all does it automatically. I have been a huge fan of that, as well as Callie and the loaders on the ground. If we hop inside the cockpit, we can go over some more stuff that's happening in here. On the left side of the cockpit, I have mainly my engine instruments. Percent RPM, ITT temperature, torque, as well as volts of the battery, PSI and temperature of the oil, and then fuel flow per hour, as well as my fuel gauge. Underneath, I've got a bunch of switches. These are mainly for starting the engine as well as shut down, and then a couple extra for some lights. On the right side, I have my airspeed and my altimeter, and then both of these are showing pressures. One is the pressure at the pump, and the other is the pressure at the boom. The screen right in front of me is my GPS, and I've done a separate video on this if you're curious about it, but this is how I actually find my way to the field and through the field once I'm there, so that I am staying perfectly on my pass every single time. So if I am in the field and I'm spraying and actually move off the pass a foot or 2 feet or 3 feet off to the left or to the right, I can see that on the GPS and the light bar that's in front of me. So that's how I'm actually staying on my pass and getting through the field. Over on the left side here, I have a couple basic engine controls. This is power and this is engine speed. So before I take off, I push engine speed full forward and then increase the power lever until I'm at my takeoff RPM or whatever I'm looking for there. Right behind it, I have trim, so I can either trim the nose up or trim it down, and then 2 levers over here on the left side. So this is my spray handle. I can turn the spray on or off here, as well as a toggle switch on the very end of it. The pump has a brake on it, and it's an electric brake. I can turn that brake on or turn it off with this toggle switch, or use the handle right here that goes through the suck back valve and then turns the spray system on or off with that. This one opens up the gate on the bottom of the hopper. So if I'm doing a dry fertilizer or seed and I'm doing spreading, I've got a spreader mounted on the bottom. That's how I'm controlling that. I'm actually pushing that forward or pulling it back. That's opening the gate at the bottom. It's also an emergency dump. So if you had some type of malfunction and you needed to get rid of the load, you can push that full forward and it'll dump the load for you. And then in the very center, this is the stick, and this controls everything that the airplane's doing. If I need to turn left or right, climb or descend, that's all happening here with the stick. You can see there are some buttons mounted on it. Those control the smoker if I'm gonna smoke and see what the winds are doing, or the GPS, flaps, a lot of different things that are mounted on the stick. And then on the floor, 2 rudder pedals. So this is gonna control the yaw of the airplane, control if my nose is going to the left or to the right, as well as the brakes that are also on top of the pedals. That right there is kind of the meat and potatoes of this airplane. If you guys have any questions about things like the GPS or the spray system, I've done separate videos on those already, so be sure to check them out. Also, if you're looking for more real-time updates, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at agaviationadventures. Thanks again for watching. I'm Tyson with Agaviation Adventures. Fly low and fly fast.